Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Auf Die Fresse, the wXw review podcast in English. I'm Ian Hamilton, I've got my teeth in, and I'm joined by Mike Kilby. And Mike, how's Oberhausen been for you?
Well, it was a couple of weeks ago, but it was wonderful as usual. It was a really, really good, positive weekend, I'd say, in most cases, and I very enjoyable weekender.
I know there's a few came back with the coward flu 6 months later. I think I've started to pick it up, whether it's second hand or what have you. But so obviously, of course, 2 weeks ago, actually 2 weeks today, was the recording we had in a circle the start of the Pro Wrestling Grand Prix weekender. And we're going to go through the 6-7 shows from that weekend in Oberhausen. Not going to do move by move stuff, you know us by now. Just more like big picture stuff and stuff from the weekends generally. But I know it was before the weekend actually hit. We did one of those fan forum things. It was Tass, Mark, Felix, and Marv. And one of the things that jumped out, and we were kind of tracking it as well, was the ticket sales. They weren't exactly bullish on the ticket sales. Was it Tass said like could be worse, could be better, that kind of thing. And whenever you hear that kind of phrasing, okay, then we're not the dirt worst, but also could be a lot better. Like things like the balconies, for instance, they hadn't sold out, and I know it's like where I was, things on the Saturday and Sunday night, there's no row 2 or 3 seats behind where I was, which is like, when you've got more front rows than you have, everything else, maybe not a good sign, but so obviously wXw, they do the whole thing where they list, I guess it's tickets sold on the website, and just going like year by year, like in a circle, so by 5, but sold out is sold out, so God knows what that is. Maybe Jim Smallman brought a few more friends this year. Show 1 had the biggest drop, 320 to 441 from last year, which we'll get to. I know that our friends Kieran and Eddie, they were first time wXw fans, or in Germany at least, and where they were sat, there was like 3 completely empty rows behind them, which, like when I went over to them during the intervals, like, yeah, this isn't good. I mean, thankfully picked up, but yeah, certainly that's backed up with numbers. Extreme Wrestling Party down a little bit, 402 to 433. Highest drawn show of the weekend. Get onto that. The Saturday lunchtime show, 368. Nothing to compare because last year was that Progress show. Although if that drew less than Progress, we got major issues, especially with Nitro and Bushi on. Show
I didn't
3.
go to that show last year. So.
From what I remembered, it wasn't that packed, but again, we had a different setup as well.
Yeah.
Saturday night show 374 against 420. Another drop. The Wheel of Wrestling show 280 against 298 for the Femme Fatale standalone show last year. And then show 4 303 to 379. So pretty much everything was down apart from in a circle, and that would be, negligible. So yeah, if you're just looking at the numbers, you're probably looking, this wasn't a success, but I would dare say the format in terms of 3 different tournaments. I know some complain, but it's just too much tournament wrestling. I can disagree. At least they each, every tournament had a reason. It wasn't like you had so much in the way of dead rubber matches where it was just wrestling for the sake of wrestling. Certainly for a year 1, if you take out the ticket numbers, and I'm not going to pocket watch wXw, but if you take out those ticket numbers, I would say on the whole it's a very successful weekend in terms of getting done what they wanted to tell.
Yeah, for sure. I think the format is obviously, it was different. It's a departure from the usual, but sort of knowing the reasons behind why, it's certainly, I do think some of the reasons they sort of put in the preview sort of pod thing they did, the Q&A thing, is that they said, well, when we have Femme Fatales and it's all in 2 hours, then the matches are 6 minutes long and they don't get a chance to sort of stretch their legs, whereas here the quality of the matches, I think, were a lot more consistently good. I think there wasn't anything that was crap. Like, there was nothing that was rubbish. Like, because You do occasionally get the odd match, and you're like, this just didn't work on any level. But I don't think there was really any of those that really did that this weekend. At least
I
in the
would,
tournaments.
yeah,
Maybe
in
one or
terms
two.
of
Maybe one or two. But
yeah,
there was
Extreme
nothing
Wrestling Party would
god
maybe push
awful.
back a bit, but yeah, in
No, but
general,
that's not part of the tournament.
no.
That's what I mean. Like in terms of the tournament matches, I don't really. There were some matches which maybe didn't really have a lot of spice to them, but there was nothing that was like, oh god, I'm waiting for this to finish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, at its worst, extremely competent wrestling, and at its best, as we'll get
Yeah.
to at the end, no, probably a match of the year contender, at least from the wXw side of things. We'll get going in a Circle 18. This was at the Wrestling Academy in Gelsenkirchen. Yet again, the radiator broke and was stuck on full for the first half of the show, which, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the Turok and Essen, hoping that's not a recurring feature there. Opener had Vilmos Gullius and Gullius Jr. over M4 in one called Manders. Becker beating Raker and Lil Mars. LeBron Cozone go over Griffin McCoy. Advances further against, I guess, we now became a roadkill Con Kelly and Aaron. Lawrence Roman over Dieter Schwartz. Hyperactive over Post Game. Ilya Bloom over Zoltan. And Adam Priest over Robert Dreisker. Quick rundown for roles. Anything jumped out for you from Inner Circle?
Let me just go back to my thing. I think all in all, I think like I thought the post game versus hyperactive tag was very good. I thought post game was surprisingly very. I really enjoyed them. Um, and I also really loved the main event, the Priest
Yeah.
Dreisker, and I think generally that's probably up until that point. I'm going to preface it there. That's probably Adam Priest's best work in WXW. He's a great small room worker anyway, but like that for me was that'd be one that I'd pinpoint as like, yeah, this is one to check out at least on from a Adam Priest perspective. And as someone who's getting a lot more international recognition, I think this is one that they can sort of pin and say, this is one to watch. I feel.
I mean, I think from that match against Robert Dreisker and Maine, the one thing that really jumped out for me was just the how do you put it, like the heel logic, so to speak. So you've got all the
Yeah, it was
tropes
a
in wrestling.
very smartly
So
worked. Yeah.
so you got like all the tropes where it's like, they'll go, small guy go out for big man, he goes over the leg, because he was same tight on the ground as anybody else. And there's one spot in there that I hope to God they do rematches and they can play off this, or at least, if not with Dreisker, at least Priest, wherever he's at, AEW or wherever. There's a spot, brings about halfway through where he went for chop block on Dreisker, and the simplest of counters, Dreisker lifted his leg up. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see that played out in a series, whether it's of Dreisker or whoever, where we try the spot again, and leg goes up and Priest goes through the leg instinctively. And then the third time, just leaps over it and maybe turns into a stomp or something like that, because it's such a simple counter and it's very, what's the word, subverting what you expect. Like, you see, the chop blocks, run of the mill stuff, kind of. But just simply lift your foot so it's, where we're going to attack isn't there. I thought it was a masterpiece.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit said online at the moment about the world of sport style.
Oh, don't
Uh,
get me started.
yeah,
It's,
but there's a lot of shit being said about that. I don't know. It's fine to say the odds were, and it's complete nonsense because, as I say, speaking about Snowboy the other day, so he put basically said like, if you're judging, it might not have been a Snowboy actually, but like you're judging an entire style and style of wrestling on a match from New Japan in 1994. It's like it's completely nonsensical. But we as a sort of a group of friends, we've been watching a lot of sort of Jimmy Breaks stuff recently, and for me, it's like Adam Priest has a lot of that Jimmy Breaks sort of shithead sort of wrestling style going on, which I'm sure actually he probably would be really happy to hear. But
yeah.
like that's the sort of thing I watched that, and it was like the logic is so bloody good. And for me, that was a real sort of treat for me. And I think yeah, like you say, it's very very clever things that are being done, and this is how you do that sort of thing in the modern day. And from Robert Dreisker, I say Robert Dreisker is it's not the person you expect that sort of thing from, even though he is a very incredibly talented and thoughtful wrestler. But you don't always expect that sort of thing from him. But I thought this was
No.
really really good.
I think the other thing from the opener was Gully Stewart getting absolutely chopped to shit by Manders to the point where by the Sunday night, so that's what, 3 days later, of the Sunday afternoon show, the marks were still there. Like that's was it tenderizing like hamburger meat was what Manders was saying he was going to do, and yep, he did it. He did it. So yes, I think that one made it to trial. I don't think it's on IWTV. But yeah, I mean, they turned this one around pretty damn quick with Met and Mark. Pretty much did commentary on this out live from what I figured out. Basically squirreled away in production suite in the Wrestling Academy. So they were doing this live, I guess, of a hard cam feed. So this was out on the Friday evening before show one. So yeah, if you were sat watching at home, you were able to see pretty much everything within a circle, like say, literal appetizer before show one. So yeah, I don't think we want to be saying that too loud because folks will be probably expecting in a circle live at some point on this rate. But yeah, certainly we're very much gone from the days of waiting 2 weeks for everything to come out now.
Yeah.
But
I mean, but I think the issue with the inner circle, although it might be different in Essen, but I understand the issue is always with the internet.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know when they did back in the days when we used to do the stream of the entrance GoPro, for the charity shows, that always used to be the issue where it would just be so unreliable. It's like, look, is a charity thing, people understand, but when it's WXW's got standards and they're not willing to risk, oh hey, how's the stream? Back in the old days, Go Fight Live and Escape Sapolsky twin. How's the stream, lads? Or let me give you half a Dragon Gate USA libraries and make good kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I'll say, it's certainly if the internet isn't going to improve, and I'm not saying that's the bottleneck, but we've definitely found the sweet spot, even if it does mean it's another half gallon of Monster and everyone over the weekend. But moving on to show one of the Pro Wrestling Grand Prix. So the format I had here was the 3 tournaments across the 3 over the weekend. It wasn't like show 1 was all this, show 2 was all this. It was all spread out pretty evenly. What it meant was you had the Friday evening show, 2 main shows on the Saturday, and then the Sunday evening show. So you didn't have the matinees as such, although we'll get to it on the Saturday one anyway. But yeah, show 1 opened with LeBron Cazone upsetting Leah Bloom in Block A. Then we had Femme Fatale quarterfinal Layla Hirsch beating Baby Allison. Koenig to catch Maris Alani and Bobby Guns in Block A went to a time limit draw. That one, I'll get back to results in a sec, but that one I felt I knew what we're doing because, for pacing, like, I've seen enough G1 stuff and, draws and wrestling where, folks are going to draw because they're not following up as quickly as they would in any other situation. And I think once we got to the, there was a Tommy Geeson doing the 15 minutes and we've got 5 minutes left call, for the first time you knew, yeah, they've been going so drawn out, maybe is the word for it, where you knew we were going to do a draw, but especially the story back and forth between the two. But I think by the time we did the 15-minute time call, the crowd knew what was going on. And at least from where I was watching and on VOD, you kind of sensed the crowd like, yeah, we're going to draw. We're not, I don't say not invested, but the crowd kind of tuned out because they knew where it was going.
It feels very much sort of a night and day against the match in, I want to say Hamburg, it might have been Frankfurt, the Fight Forever match they had. I can't remember where that was, but that match I thought it was there was an urgency like throughout the whole match, and then it was a panic towards the end where Guns is going for it. This didn't have that, but again, that being said, yeah, it was like sort of what I did say. I don't feel there was anything particularly with any real sort of meat on the bones really on this sort of show. it set out the stalls for a lot of people, but it didn't really offer a lot for me, to be honest.
Yeah, it was Frankfurt, by the way. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was one of those you kind of expected as well because, round robin, 3 matches each. You didn't want to have a definitive winner, I guess, between the two. You can keep a feud going, although, as we'll get to later on, plans forced to change. But yeah, certainly, you set out, Block A, you have a surprise early leader. You had, Elia Bloom being mocked by Ahura pretty much straight away for losing his opening match, which kind of, tipped the hand for what the final was going to be. But yeah, I think it's one, I don't want to call it an early disappointment, but very much in terms of as far as a match where you kind of hoping out for more, so to speak. But yeah, then after that we had the first half. No, by the first half the show was free for those watching live on Children YouTube. So the main event for the freeloaders, Greedy Souls over Dragon Kid and Dragon Dyer. Again, things one where I don't know if it really ever hit in a higher gear, but certainly, well within what you expect. Bear in mind, two teams who I think the familiarity for each of us be, 0 or less than 0 at that point. Second half, catch a Block B, Joseph Fennick Jr. over Hector Invictus. We'll get back to that in a second. Orshi beating Becker in the Femme Fatale quarterfinal. Ahura over Adam Priest in Block B. And then main event was the grind over KXS in the tag tournament. I guess the other story from the weekend, and we didn't review Bad Hersfeld on this show because it was just too close to the tournament. But in Bad Hersfeld, we had that wild shotgun title match between Hector and Dennis Stolnik, which I think featured what Curry versed a sandwich board. So the story for the weekend was Stolnik was distracting Hector. This one he came out, started doing striptease and throwing shoes at him, and caused Hector to lose by distraction. And I did notice Shooter Schultz hid Dolnick's shoes under the ring after the match. So he went a couple of matches in the back without shoes, which, hey, if you're going to do that, expect to be pranked, I guess. But yeah, so I think, second half, I guess by rights, the main event probably stood out like, say, match of the day if you want to pick that one out. But yeah, and also Orshi over Beck as well. The first time she'd been in Turbine Hall for thick end of 3 years. I don't want to say it wasn't like she'd missed a day, but certainly, she's a lot closer than you'd think she would be after 2.5, 3 years, out. But what do you think of Becca's singing, by the way? Because I know it was very much divisive, both live and online.
Just to comment on Becca in general, I think she someone who challenged your preconceptions of people is probably what what I'll say is that in the same way that maybe in the same way that Ava Everett kind of did the same thing maybe 2 or 3 years ago. You can sometimes she although she very pointedly says she's not a comedy wrestler, but the gimmick is something that does lean itself to being as such. I think it's not unfair to say.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I know was it last time she was over, she was working on the international pop star stuff. In fact, it's been backed up by a song that you can buy that is streamable, or I guess it adds a bit of credibility in that sense. Yeah. What I would say, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, like the Milli Vanilli kind of stuff, and there's an old reference for everyone. Was it the Extreme Wrestling part? She had it in German, and it was a German backing track for you singing over, and it was so obvious it was jarring. I don't know if that was meant to be the comedy bit that she's lashed out at, but yeah, I do get the whole people don't like this kind of stuff in wrestling, but again, if that's the character, that's the character.
Honestly, I thought she was really good, and I saw her this past week for Eve, and it was it was it was a pleasure to watch because I think it's as a character and as a character and a worker, I think she's very, very good at what she does.
Yeah.
Did not expect to be saying that. Is what
no.
I'd say. No.
Especially when you think she was a late replacement for Jane Neal, and I do wonder, I mean, clearly she had other dates. I'm wondering would she have been like in the? Because she had a couple of pre-show matches.
The Lil Mars
Lil Mars spot, or yeah. Now, moving on, Extreme Wrestling Party. This was the Friday, not quite midnight show because these things never start on time. Opener, Violence Forever beating Hyperactive. A couple of unannounced matches. Zoltan beating Ricky Souza. One called Manders beating Alexander Bellamy for control of Norman House's credit card. And I'll get this out of the way here. Lawson had a good weekend, didn't he? Getting his pint stolen, getting absolutely rat-arsed on liquor, and then getting his bollocks stamped on by Dulnigo later on the weekend.
Yeah, poor bugger. I don't know if you saw the Matthew Bull gets hit by a man.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've not seen the clip, it's on my Twitter somewhere. Poor Lawson, our very good dear friend, absolutely clobbered by Dulnig on the... and say, by all accounts, there was a few people who were like a bit pissed off that Bellamy took the pint off him because they're like, "Oh, come on."
That's €5 worth.
Yeah, exactly.
But the price is up since Carrot.
He did get it back, I think, in liquor. So fair play to him.
I mean, it's thick in liquor, but I don't know what it's like. But
that was good. That was good. No, honestly, that was really good. It was like a like Panda Pop Cherry.
Yeah.
It was like that, but like a liquor. So it was like it was really genuine. Because I had some. Genuinely, it was really nice. I really liked it. Apparently, it's like the trash that you drink when you're like 14, but it's lovely. I thought it was nice.
Oh God!
It was genuinely quite. It was to the point where I think if I lived in Germany or didn't have so restrictive baggage, I'd probably buy a bottle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Genuinely really good.
I mean, let's say it's a far cry from being paraded by Speedball and Bandito just for the pandemic, but strange things happen. Stephanie Mays we beat Ravi Davey, Yuval Goldschmidt, Becca, Griffin McCoy, and Yokai in a scramble, which... So this was meant to be Germany's next top pop idol or whatever the hell they framed as, then just bled into a scramble. I think this is one where it was a paper-thin concept for Scramble. They would probably been better off just doing the Scramble as is, but this kind of tipped away that this is what Beck was originally meant to be doing, because you wouldn't have needed the pretense for Germany's next top star having her out singing if she hadn't done 2 shows already introducing the act, if you know what I mean.
I get that. Yeah.
And not bad, but I think for Scramble in 5 minutes, you knew you were going to get, it was over and done from the blink. But good to see Yuval Goldschmidt in the main roster show. I think it's the first time for a long while he's been on. Dennis Stolning over Super Crazy, the less said the better. For me, this was the stinker of the weekend, and I don't get anything to do with Dulnig. I think it was more Super Crazy in 2025 is very limited, and I think that's putting it lightly in terms of what he has outside of a nostalgia act.
Yeah. Very disappointing,
I mean, look, with Dulnig, you knew the result because one guy's being pushed with ones of this. Like, if this was Norman Harris, say, you would have been flipped. But, with Dulnig, you knew they were pushing him just based on, what happened with Hector since he came back. This was just a long, long walk and blow that felt a lot longer than 9 minutes that they had. And all the, the blooming mayo and mustard they wasted. I just hope they managed to clean that shit out of the ring, because that would not have been pleasant by the end of the weekend if that had been left to fester, let's put it that way. We had next a tribute to the FBI and the Dudley Boys. So was it the Certified Italian Alliance, I think was the acronym they used. It was post-game with some fake Italian names and Luca De Leone. They lost to not the Dudley Boys of Mark Empire and Roro Robert Dreisker, accompanied by Nick Schreier. And that certainly explains why Dreisker grew up that mohawk in recent weeks for the Bubba Ray cosplay.
If that was the reason why he did it, then that's incredible commitment.
It's a hell of a commitment to the bit. I mean, it's certainly happenstance, let's put it that way. Of all the times to change your look, a mohawk that fits Bubba Ray Dudley, the same time you're doing a ECW Bubba Ray tribute. But the match was an absolute hoot. I mean, I was watching this in my hotel room. And I thought, like, it's a match, not much, but like just for entertainment, I think that one's like the best of the show. Just in terms of
best Dudley Boys match in 20 years.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be topped in the next few weeks either. Then we had Four Corners of Pain. So originally it was going to be Mike Schwartz and Iceman in the Fanbing weapon match. Schwartz picked up a concussion, so he was out. They didn't announce a replacement. Ended up being Norman Harris coming out to piss and moan about his credit card being stolen. Actually, there's a bit we missed. So after the Manders giving everyone free booze stuff, there was a backstage skit with Ryan Ringer, the shot ref, going to his other shoot job of travel agent, booking flights for Manders on Harris's credit card and maxing the whole thing out, which... so I think Manders got his flight home, but maybe not the big steak meal he wanted.
Well, I haven't seen him eat at the airport. He would have been fine with a few eggs, to be honest.
Yeah. And then, so when this came out, Norman House came out bitching and moaning about, what happened with his credit card. Dan Malman, who was up in the gods, passed on word for matchmakers. He got slotted into the Four Corners of Pain match against Emerson Jane. I've seen plunder matches a lot better than this. I just don't understand how you can have the template, stereotypical goofy heel, for one better word. The guy who always moans, the guy who's always there to take the pratfalls in Norman, and have a match that just didn't click at all. I just don't understand how. I don't know if it's just the two didn't mix. I don't know if it's on Emerson. I don't know if it's on Norman. It was just, for me, it's this was just weapon hit. In the end, the fact that Norman leapt backwards into a barbed wire board to end it, I think just summed it up. I want this to end a lot sooner.
I don't think it was that particularly bad, really.
I don't think bad's the word. It was just didn't seem to have much juice to it.
Yeah, I mean, as like you say, it was possibly a last minute sort of change. So I think they did fairly decently with what they had there. But
I think not helped by main event, fans bring the weapons match, so back-to-back plunder matches. I suspect the original booking would have been Norman against Green Phantom, just because Green Phantom was announced but had no match. And then this became a freeway after plans changed. Iceman beating Matthew Justice and Green Phantom. This was Fan Bring the Weapons. It was the Snow Boys serving tray that he got from a charity shop got used. Was the first weapon out?
Yeah, I brought two weapons. I bought the pineapple, which is it's
a lot of citrus fruit for a death match, I noticed.
Pineapple's not citrus. For what
okay, a lot of fruit for death match.
Yeah, let's say pineapple's not citrus, and neither is a watermelon, which somebody else bought. Let's be serious with our fruit classifications there. I bought a pineapple because I wanted to see a pineapple in a match for a long time, because I thought it's always been a good weapon, because you can go jabby with the spiky bits, but you can also be greaty with the skinny bits. And I always thought it was good. And also, it's great. So it got used to the jabby and the scrapey, and then it got thrown on the floor and it just exploded. So I was really happy with it. I was slightly disappointed because I did bring a fly zapper. Like a racket.
Yeah.
It didn't get used, so that was €5 down the drain. If anybody in wXw wants to let me know why it wasn't used, I'm not complaining, but it would be nice to know why. So if Met or anybody else happens to be listening, if they can find out, that'd be wonderful.
We can't approve of torture. We made you watch a super crazy match on the same show. It's too much.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, no. I'm not angry or I'm just disappointed. That's all it was.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that feels worse. No, but I thought the main event was great. It's exactly what you wanted out of that. That made staying up till 2:30
in the morning
worth it. So yeah, but it could have been. It could have done with a bit more of that, really.
If I'm being honest, if you'd moved the Four Corners of Pain match a little earlier in the night, I think it would have stood out a lot more. But for them being back to back, to me, was the one big
issue,
yeah. Anyway, so late night for a lot of us. Show 2 kicked off Saturday afternoon. This one we had Tetsuya Naito and Bushi on, and they did the meet and greet beforehand. Planet Kojira over the Hype Dogs in the tag tournament quarterfinal. Adam Priest over Joseph Fennick Jr. in König Catcher Block B. Femme Fatale's Sapphire Reed over Stephanie Mays. That one really surprised me. But in fact, I mean, at the time, obviously, no Sapphire won, spoiler. But the fact that Stephanie Mays was out the group, her and Anita were the de facto face of what's left of the women's division. So for her to go out so early on, was probably the tip off that Sapphire was going to be going far. Vance Forever over the Gullies brothers in the tag tournament.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. Most of the phrase I heard was Kieran and Eddie, just two pairs of fridges just going at it for a quarter of an hour.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, Aaliyah Bloom beating Bobby Guns to effectively eliminate Bobby in what dare say would be an underwhelming match, but again, we can get on that in a sec. Anita Vaughan over Emerson Jane and Femme Fatales, and then Bushi and Naito over Metahan and Rambo in a match I got the hell out of Judge the second Naito touched the ring. I've seen enough of Los Tranquilos to help on to last a lifetime, especially this run. And Rambo and Metahan equally do little. It was like the German and Japanese equivalents of each other.
Can I shock you?
You're going to say you like this, aren't you?
I thought that was actually half decent. I think it's the best I've ever seen Naito in Europe. That's probably that is what I and I know that doesn't necessarily feel it's, but having seen Naito work in Europe a lot, I've seen him for Rev Pro for nearly a decade. That's the best. I think that's the best match he's had in Europe.
I couldn't disagree. I mean, I think a lot of it. So for me, I just didn't want to see the match because I knew watching the VOD was a lot of Metahan and Naito pointing at each other's eyes, which was
it was good live. It was better live. So
I mean, the reaction for Naito and Bushi in particular was really hot. For me, and I think I've said this elsewhere, and this is something that they're going to have to figure out because, spoiler the Shotgun vlog, Metahan and Rambo are sticking around as a team. Metahan gets crickets, Rambo gets the almost, I don't say the meme pop, but he gets the reaction of it out for two of them. I don't know where you go with that because if you're trying to do this combo and have Metahan be the star coming out of it, the fans are screaming at you from day one. It ain't going to work.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair assessment. I think them pairing them together. I'd rather watch a Metahan and Rambo tag than Metahan singles.
Yeah. So at least half match you can have someone you want to cheer.
Yeah. So I don't know, but no, I think for what it was, I thought that was all right. Genuinely, it was. I was expecting it to be terrible, and it was. I generally really enjoyed it. So there we go.
I guess
you did all right.
I guess elsewhere in the show, Aaliyah Bloom over Bobby Guns. I thought this was one. I don't know if it was because Bobby went half an hour the night before. This one to me just never hit a high again. I think if you want to be harsh, out of the König to catch lads, Bobby didn't have the best of weekends, results, and I dare say output. And again, I don't know if it's because it was deliberately, I'd say, tanking for one better word. But certainly, to me, came across like it just didn't. His weekend certainly just didn't click for me. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair.
On to show 3 now. So we had Becca over Lil Mars. They finally did a fight for the pre-show. Pardon me. Then we kicked off with the rest of the quarterfinals and semi-finals. So the Saturdays where they split the stuff across the two nights, or the two shows even. So we had on show 3 semi-final Anita Vaughan beating Orshi. In Block B, Ahura beating Hector and Vix by countout because, Dennis Dolan came out to distract and that led to a finish. Tag tournament semi-final, Greedy Souls over Valances Forever. Femme Fatales over semi-final, Sapphire Reed over Layla Hirsch, so you had an all-hyperactive final there. König to Catcher, Maris Alani submitting LeBron Cozone. We had a non-tournament trios match, Dragon Dia, Dragon Kid, and... Dragon Dyer, Dragon Kid, and Zoltan over Dietrich Schwartz and KXS. Back to the World Tag Team Tournament, the Grind over Dry Screen Empire. So I knew straight away, obviously, that the finish of that was the old WrestleMania, Rick Rude, Bobby Heenan one, suplex, Roman grabs the leg like it was Bobby Heenan. I didn't realize I was watching the English back. That was a knockoff of an old Amboss finish. I think it was like in Dresden or somewhere, where Dreisker did exactly the same thing to help them win. So it was very clever. They were pulling up old Amboss stuff to cost Dreisker long after Amboss is dissolved. No, so it wasn't
That
just no cute WWE finish for the sake of it.
that's interesting. I might have to look into that. I wasn't
Yeah.
aware of that.
Only reason I knew, and this isn't a knock on him because they've been given notes. Ricky Slasher, who I wouldn't say would be like very deep into WXW law, was screaming about being the finish. Like this was what happened in name of town here. I forget. I didn't write it down. And I went back to check, and yep, that was the finish. So clearly, it was more than just oh hey, it's a good way to beat a big lad. So yeah, it was a nice play. And throughout the weekend, I think some of the second show Pro Wrestling Grand Prix was a promo of Nick Schreier trying to sleep off his hangover from the night before, only to get screamed at by Lawrence Roman. Um, they're already planting seeds of dissent between the grind, which I no normally if like this is WWE, it's like, oh, you've just put them together to break them up. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, if the aim of the grind is to make Nick Schreier the star coming out of this, they're going about this the right way. It's just how do you get to that point? But we can get that later on because main event, Peter Tahani submitting Manders to win the Unified World Wrestling title in, let's just say, match which teased a lot for Manders' future OnlyFans career if he wants to go down the foot photos route.
Yeah, I thought this main event was really good. It kind of ticked all of the boxes, I think, for a Saturday night main event, to borrow a phrase. But I always think that you want a little bit of jeopardy and one person that you really don't want to win. And I think there's a few times maybe where we've had these Saturday night main events over the, I'm going to say post-pandemic, because there's a few that sort of spring to mind which are a bit older, but where you're kind of indifferent really who does win, or you maybe not fast. But I thought this one was a really well, they've built Manders, I think, as a real totem pole of wXW. I think he's definitely one of the top sort of 5 foreign wrestlers. I'm going to say foreign as in sort of import wrestlers in WXW, sort of in the modern era sort of WXW anyway. And likewise, Tihani is, although yes, he is a very well thought of wrestler, he having the forward connection, I feel like that was there was a little bit of belief that maybe he might hold on to it. Do you know what I mean? And I think especially considering they'd announced the dates of after they announced Manders was doing sort of the full tour, there was a little bit of me saying, you know what, they probably could still keep it on Manders, sort of thing.
Yep. I thought in a match they were very smart to have Manders wipe out Forwerk early on, so
let's have a proper match here.
Yeah, if you were going to do a title change, I thought it was very important you didn't have it be, full of shtick and
clean-ish.
Yeah, if you didn't have Tihani win because of Forwerk and Fame, because then you've got, almost like this dark cloud over the whole thing of, oh, it's an unworthy champion. This reign needs to be the reign that Tihani couldn't do because of injury.
Yeah.
It's like, it's you do over kind of thing. But, I mean, I thought as a match, like, with some stuff they clearly were trying to go for but didn't work. And I mean, in terms of like equipment fail, it was like Tihani, were clearly trying to have him lose his boot and it didn't work when they wanted to, at least. It's a match that made sense as far as, back with the Dreisker Priest stuff at Inner Circle. You had Tihani, trying to keep Manders down. He took a couple of shots, but a lot of it was Tihani working the leg, making sure that Manders couldn't, build up a head of steam. So, yeah, he did get murdered with a few lariats, but because of the work he'd done to the leg, Manders couldn't quickly go for pins. and just it became the snapping point. What's going to break first? Is Mandas going to club him to death first, or was Tahani going to be able to snap the leg, so to speak, first? And clearly, it ended up being the foot that gave. And yeah, as a match, I thought this was a hell of a first, proper singles match back. Sorry, I'm not counting that match in Bad Hersfeld, but it's the first big marquee match back for Tahani. I don't say it wasn't like he missed a beat, but certainly it was
Picking
one of
up
those
where he
where,
left off.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was snatched away in February through injury, and yeah, it was almost like, yeah, he picked up reading the same story. So we'll see where this goes. Obviously, Tahani, there's stuff from the Shotgun vlogs we'll get to, but Tahani back as champion. Mandas, pretty much once had a rematch, and I would dare say we're going to follow the usual routine where we're going to have a rematch at the anniversary show. They're doing stuff with Mandas where he wants to go for all the old champions he can get his hands on. Doing him and Irie in Frankfurt, which is going to be a hell of a match. But yeah, that's so we've set the stall for what you're going to get in mid-December for those who are traveling or watching at home. Sunday morning, we had Wheel of Wrestling 71, and this was, I don't want to say the offcuts, but this was the unannounced show that had Dulnick and Hector in a no-holds-barred main event for Shotgun Belt. They really should have announced this somewhere on the Saturday show. Like, even if you do that promo thing, even like afterwards, if you say it for live crowd, hey, this has been set, be here for Wheel of Wrestling. But for this to be announced on the Sunday morning, like, I don't know how many people have pulled out of bed early on for this, but I would dare say there's a lot of people turned up on the Sunday evening show cursing that they'd missed this because, it was the one thing that really screamed out in terms of being canon that would have drawn people there, or at least people in the town there anyway. But opener Ricky Souls over Griffin McCoy, Hype Dogs over Roadkill, Orshi beating Raker, Brandon Bands beating Ravy Davy, Layla Hirsch over Emerson Jane, Matt Justice over M4, Dragon Dyer over Zoltan, Planet Kojiro over the Gullius Brothers in a match which I really wish could have gone a bit longer, but 10 matches in 2 hours with time spare, I'm not going to complain. Rambo Metahan against Alexander Bellamy with Norman Harris watching on the apron, and then Dennis Stolnick beating Hector to win the Shotgun Belt in 10 minutes. By default, say that was match of the show, even if the table wasn't cooperating at all.
Although, as I say, that was the show. That was the match that Lawson got his bollocks crushed. So.
Yeah. The clip's out on his YouTube, on his social media, I think. So, yeah, this one, they went all over. You had Hector bleeding on a Sunday lunchtime. So, yeah, folks watching back home, with roasting, it was definitely bloody, even if it had been cooked properly. This one, they did all the plunder. I think you had 9 meat and potato matches, and they did the whole thing of the big stuff was saved for the main event. You had the weapons, you had the chairs, you had the table, even though it didn't break. And yeah, Hector's shotgun title run comes to an end. Post-match attack, you had Dulnick attacking Hector some more. Hector out of a Koenigsegg catcher, so his dead rubber match doesn't happen. Potentially a short-term write-off, who knows? But certainly, very emphatic title change there. Going into show 4 of the Pro Wrestling Grand Prix, pre-show was Dietrich Schwartz and KXS over Vance's Rev and Stephanie Mays. And then we had the final block matches, Bobby Guns beating LeBron Cozone in Block A, Aaliyah Bloom upsetting Maris Alani in Block A as well, so it ended up being Aaliyah winning the group to go through. Then we were told Hector was out with injury. Adam Priest got 2 points, so Block B settled down to this one match where if Ahura won, he would get to the final. A Joseph Fennick Jr. win would need a freeway to get through. It's like the G1 where it's like, if you have to explain all these complex routes, the complex stuff's not going to happen. Certainly not in year 1 of this. And sure enough, Ahura won. Really good sprint for match mind, I would say, bearing in mind, I guess in Ahura's case, the whole thing of if you didn't get the job done, you'd have another match to go, whereas Bloom would have had a lot longer to rest and only one match on the day. So certainly out of those, they kept the stronger block matches for this final show.
Yeah, I think the Ahura Fennec was probably the best of the block matches across all of the whole weekend.
Then you had pissed off Adam Priest. Obviously, his match had been cancelled, issuing an open challenge. It was answered by Dragon Kid, who defeated him in 10 minutes. Another really good match. I thought another show forwards where the really good shit was coming on. And then after the interval, all the finals, the World Tag Team Tournament final, the Greedy Souls beating the Grind. I think this is one where the Greedy Souls the whole weekend they'd won with. They used to call it the Hospital Pass, but I think it's now the sold out, the Slingshot Bossman Slam. That didn't work in this, so they went to their traditional the Soul Destroyer, like the Magic Killer neck backbreaker thing. I think we said about a year ago after the Youngblood ran the table in the tag tournament that wXw had cleared out their tag division. They'd never really rebuilt it. I think this weekend, just with the teams that beat Gojira and obviously winning the tournament, they've got a couple of decent challenges, at least for the rest of the year. And I think Greedy Souls, maybe it's the chant of greedy arseholes we did it, but I thought, bear in mind, for the last time we were in WXW was, it was against Medahan and Rambo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then not brought back, so to come back eventually and win this and go all the way, it's a hell of a vote of confidence.
Yeah, I think they've at least got enough. There's enough to carry them through to Carrot, at least, I feel. Like the tag teams.
And then we'll need to see what they do because, Grind, I don't see lasting past Carrot. I just think based on the way they're going, I can see maybe that's a Carrot match, first round Shire and Roman, but we'll see their Femme Fatale final. This is another really good one, and I know there's criticism going in, or Hyperactive until Thursday hadn't been in WXW. Well, they're all over Europe. You could tell from the fans. They knew who they were. It wasn't like you grabbed, I don't know, insert random team from America who had never been in Europe. People knew who Hyperactive were. AV has a lot of goodwill in the bank with WXW, to the point where Sapphire, just by association, was going to get that. I think this match as well, really, pushed over line from made in a weekend, if you want to put it like that. And it was one of those where it started off being very friendly, like, I'm match you. And you could see AV as the, I guess, relative veteran of the two, sneaking in some cheap shots like, you thought this was going to be like a good exhibition. Well, no, I'm here to win this. And then slowly, each of them raising the game. They did kind of play off, was it the Manda Zahura Carrot finish? Like, I don't want to win this by count out. And again, it backfired because AV turned down a win and then ended up losing. But for the sake of a friendly, babyface v babyface match,
in a way, like
a hell of a match.
Matches between friends or tag team partners, which they both are. This is kind of the way to do them because if you think about like the the couple of years ago there was the FTR Wheeler versus Dawson. Wheeler versus not Dawson, is it? Sorry.
Dawson and Wheeler.
Yeah, there was that match on AEW where it was like the two partners in the Owen Classic sort of thing, and it's like you nobody should know the other person better than their own tag team partner or their best friend. So when they should, and also like they want to. It's part of good competition between partners and friends to work like this. So yeah, I thought this was really good. Like you say, votes of confidence for a relatively new, because this was her first time in WXW, wasn't it, Sapphire?
She did a Carrot weekend a couple of years back.
She did. So you're right. She did do one of the.
It was like the Wheel of Wrestling, like shoulder shows, rather than be like a spotlight.
Yeah,
so first proper weekend where she had obviously a lot for Anita. I don't say they used Anita, but they had Anita, who's very established in WXW. Transfer that across. We won't say by osmosis or what, but transfer that across. And now you've got two stars ready to go. And I think we've said it's Hyperactive there coming back over to WXW. So, as much as we've complained with past over, there's no women's title, there's no women's division. There's clearly stuff for them to do. And faction of it, Femme Fatale this year wasn't you get it. No, I'm going to turn this into a shot for the shotgun title. It's like, no, it's for none of these for explicit title shots. So whether this is something they come back around when you're not pushing
is enough of a prize.
Yeah, but you're not doing it where it's like, say if you went, Femme Fatales for shotgun title shot, well, you literally just pushed a new guy as your shotgun champion this weekend. So this would almost be like a dead rubber if you did, well, Sapphire Reed won, and then she's challenging the new shotgun champion. Well, that's either cutting off Dennis Dullnick of the knees or foregone conclusion, which could negate the whole tournament. So, yeah, it's a match really, really good. Um, and yeah, it's the start of hyperactive in WXW. I'd love to see what more's going to come from this, because I think Sapphire Reed, in terms, certainly in the British scene, Rev Pro scene, like one side with his Cutthroat Collective and obviously hyperactive with AV. So she's playing both sides of the coin, so to speak, which can only aid her development rather than do the usual one run as a baby face and then the run as a heel, and by which point, you've done everything. So yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Of course, the Catcher final, Uhura beating Leah Bloom, my God in heaven, like live, because I couldn't see half of this stuff because half of this in the crowd. I liked, but watching on tape, this has got to be WXW's match. I'd say best match since the pandemic. I would dare say.
Yeah, for me, it's the best WXW match since Okada and Ishikawa. So I think this. I actually have this as the best match of 2025.
Ooh, but high.
Inclusive of everything else, generally. So, and I didn't expect
No.
at all.
I remember, a couple of years back at Carrot when Uhura came back, and we were like, "Oh, where's he going to go?" And we said, "Well, Uhura's got the highest ceiling, but the lower floor." And it's like,
yeah, this is this. This is this in.
This is the on the top of the ladder, leaping to touch the ceiling. Like this was, this again played off the year-long. Get my teeth in again. This played off of a year-long feud between Uhura and Bloom, of a rivalry, if you want to be Ponzi about it, where they've always been back and forth trying to be the number one between the two of them. And yeah, you can argue, well, now Peter Harney's back as champion, you're not going to be number one, maybe. But the constant back and forth between the two, and like they haven't had a lot of singles matches. This isn't like it's a back and forth feud where it's been, it's 5-4 and we're all fed up of. So this is them going from things like 2 or 3 singles matches, 2 of them making tape, and then to this, and it's like you could tell the characters in them hate the fuck out of each other. Like,
and I also like that it's like Ilya Bloom is like the tryhard who, he's the tryhard who just can't stop losing, really, in a sense. Whereas Ahura is like he's the they're actually opposites of the same person. Effect, they're two sides of the same coin, aren't they? Whereas Ahura is laissez-faire, kind of. Well, he's not. He'd not say he doesn't try, but it's natural talent versus working hard, isn't it? And Ahura has the God-given gift, whereas Ilya Bloom has to put every fiber of his being into it, and he still comes up short.
I'm going to invoke the law that all wrestling podcasts have to have some clumsy Simpsons comparison here.
I was going to say, I was about to bring up
Frank Grimes.
Frank Grimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say that. I was like, oh no, I don't know if that works. But yeah, it's 100% things like nothing. Ilya, I was really good. Ilya Bloom, he puts every single fiber into it, and he still comes up short, which I think is brilliant. And eventually, I feel he's just going to completely melt down. He had to basically threaten to kill Peter Tierney in January to beat him, and now there's a ban on him wrestling him. I know that goes into something, but like he had to go beyond the confines of the conventions of wrestling, whereas, and then with the same thing with Ahura, in essence, Ahura, he should be able to steamroll Ahura. Really, in essence, there's nothing about Ahura which is exceptional compared to Blue, really, is there? But
it's all mental. It's mind game stuff.
The wall, sort of the block is in his head, and equally, it's like it never goes right for him, and I think that's brilliant.
And I think as well, if you go back to even outside of this rivalry, No, Bloom and Uhura both had shots at Manders. Bloom bled absolute buckets, came up short. Uhura didn't bleed, also came up short. It's that whole thing of
But
Bloom's
Mander's respect for
2025.
her, he didn't respect earlier.
Yeah, 2025. Bloom has been almost like this tortured soul. Like, heck, if you want to go back to last year's shortcut, when it all hinges on that moment where he had it wasn't like a overt friendship. It was like best friends, tag partners, but the steady professional friendship, you want to call it that, got ripped apart, and he just couldn't get over it. And then seeing Tahani win, that exacerbated things, and then we keep going. And like I say, like the fact that Bloom, lost here, and it's over Hura, like I think I said after the show, to me this nails on Bloom as winning card next year, at least in terms of the anti you can't have rice pudding all the time. Like he can't lose all the time.
I think.
But what if they make him the Mikey Whipwreck of wXw? Where in the not Mike Whipwreck, that's a completely wrong story. The Tommy Dreamer and the Raven feud. What if a Who's Raven and Leah Bloom's Tommy Dreamer? Except they don't do the whole I beat you once because you're all going somewhere else and completely fuck the comparison up.
I could completely see them doing Bloom not winning carrot either. Genuinely, I think you could just keep on. Sorry to invoke a horror name from the past, but everyone was always calling out for the David Starr win over Walter, and it never came, and it probably would have never have come. And like that's the same thing. I feel it's like if you just never give Bloom the thing he needs, then it makes him a more textured and developed sort of.
Well, yeah, especially because this feud hasn't really spilled outside wXw. That other one was was in Progress, was in Defined, was in Fight Club Pro, was in OTT. This one is very much confined to within wXw, and Bloom works elsewhere. I know who doesn't get that much outside, maybe GWF. But this is very much a story that wXw have full control over. And I mean, I think if you go back to the well too often, have Bloom who are twice, 3 times a year, it'll get old. But if you do stuff like, it'll get on this after. But like if you do get Bloom going back to if I win Carrot, I have to have a title shot, contract be damned. And then he falls short because it was just that doubt of what if I can't? Well, shortcut for top, and he ends up being the last man in. And if you want to go down the I say comedy route, if you want to go down the route of, it's funny if you lose the first hurdle, and that makes it even more. I mean, the thing you've got to remember is Bloom's only a few years in, and the worst thing we've seen historically here is if you have your hot hand win everything early on. We've said this a lot from this podcast, especially in European wrestling. Once you have won the big one, it is very hard traditionally for promotions to get the next step. Like, after Bobby Guns lost the title, he had that middling run. And we see, a lot of times where hot guy comes in, wins the belt, loses him, and it's like, well, now what? Because normally you'd expect you have your run and then you go somewhere else. And as we're seeing right now, WWE's not exactly signing people for fun. AEW's hardly signing people, but you're getting all that. It's like, well, what's the answer? And I honestly think unless you have, he's had the WWE trials, we know that. And he's going to be signed. Unless you have like hey, we're going to sign him in a year, finish up, and realistically, you're never going to get that. This could very easily be a rivalry where you just keep going until say if, I don't know, if who goes, yeah, I'm retiring, then you snap it. And, we've seen before where ups and walks out, relatively short notice. But yeah, certainly, it's very early on, but. Not being sadist, they could torture the Leah Bloom character a lot longer than they have.
Yeah, I think they should, to be honest. I'd like to see him suffer.
Maybe if you're Electric Fly Zapper, but I'll have a time dollop. But yeah, a couple of wide thoughts come up over the weekend. We've already touched on Greedy Souls. helping refresh the tag division. Sapphire Reed, same. Um, One thing I would say, and this came up early in the weekend when Bobby Guns, I would say bombing out, but when his weekend was not looking good. Like we go for like generations of promotions, like we had Walter and Ilya was the star of like the mid to late tens. Bobby Guns was the star going for Pandemic, and then slash Marisolani, if you want to call that the Pandemic era. It feels like WXW's missed a couple of years about a tentpole guy. And you want to say Tristan Archer because obviously got the airbrush out of history. Fair enough. But it's like you look at the names that come out of the academy, and this isn't a shot at the academy. It's more just like bad luck or
Observation.
bad luck in that sense. Lavaniel's been gone since Carrot. No, I know we weren't exactly fans of his world title run and just how he pivoted from comedy geek to super serious and but one of his promos, so to speak. But no, he's kind of disappeared since Carrot with the talk that he's done. Anil Marek. No, I'm not saying he was shot out of cannon, but he was treading along nicely, and I've heard some speculation over the weekend he may be done as well. Francis Caspin, want to go back a few years, similar thing. He was, a lot of people's, hot hand or hot tip for, Star Future. That didn't really go anywhere again because of injury. Norman Harris, you want to point to booking? Fair enough. Maggot, maybe close, but then, he took time off and then, has been out for a year as well. It's like, I don't want to count Peter Tahani because I won't call him homegrown.
Well,
he was
he's
regular.
more homegrown than Maggot is.
Well, true, but I'm talking about in terms of the first big exposure. Like Tahani was, a bit of a regular in GWF before WXW had him. Not highlighted, but just in terms of regular appearances.
If you watched that GWF time, you would have put your money on Justin Wild or Ben Shattuth, not Tahani. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm picking a winner. I thought Benche was better.
I know he tried. Didn't he have like a comeback that went no? I'll say went no, but he had a comeback and it hasn't later anything.
Yeah, he's doing music, I believe, is his thing.
Which probably more stable. And yeah, we'll get back to the rest of gone out for music. There's a time we've already touched upon, but I would say it's like I don't want to say it's early days and go this person's no good, but the longer they go without a grown from the academy name, if you want to put it like that, the more pressure I feel is going to build. Not because when they moved to Gelsenkirchen, we said, we've got all these facilities, it's only a matter of time. And, it depends on what you get through the doors for what you can churn out. But I think, Outfield Love, we've got now Aaron, you only see on weekenders, M4, largest weekenders. Alexander Bellamy's very raw on this. Like, I think the match he's had over weekends, like maybe if those broke double digits in front of matches in front of the crowd, it'll be that. I think it'd be very interesting to see the next year or so if they, resist the temptation to grab a guy from the academy and go, look, this is our academy guy, just because you've had the Lavaniels, the Caspins, who haven't been able to go far.
I think you're maybe discounting Bloom here. I mean,
we're torturing Bloom. I'm not talking about as far as no. I mean, Bloom I consider made to a point, but at the same time, they're also not. I don't say making the face of promotion, but you can't also be the face of promotion, be beaten like a drum. At least in terms of your storylines, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of understand that. I don't. When you say the face of promotion, I think immediately out of the pandemic, it was Tisha. Immediately out of the pandemic, if you look at sort of the local, if you look at maybe the local media, it was always Tisha. And I think Dreisker sort of did take a little bit of that role sort of immediately afterwards. But I mean, the brand of WXW, I think, as we head into the 25th anniversary, I think the brand of WXW is in a way, like kind of, I think all promotions secretly are aiming for. The brand is almost as bigger than maybe the individual guys, really, isn't it? at this point. And
kind of like the WWE route,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's you're not going to be kneecapped if, say, WWE go and sign half your roster again, that kind of thing.
No, I don't think you would. And I think WX, you sort of you look at sort of the golden period, which we had Ilya, we had Tim, Ilya Dragunov, we had Tim, we had Walter, we had David Starr, we had Ozzy, but you had all these people. But was actually week to week. So was that? I mean, match quality, maybe it was a lot higher, but really, was it as well structured as it is now? I don't know if it was. We had Shotgun. But like the long.
Remember, Shotgun ended 2018, though, so you
Yeah.
had like about 18 months going into the pandemic where it was just
It was
show.
completely, and I honestly think genuinely it's been higher quality in its current period longer than it was during the so-called golden era, because the golden era for me is 2016 to 2018, and I think it's been a really high standard since at least 2023.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean,
And,
I think as well.
it doesn't really show for me. There's some bad faith tweeting about. I'm not saying what you're saying. There's a lot of concerns, I think, about the size of the crowd, and we can see it. We can see it in the number of traveling people, but then that's slowly creeping up again.
I think in terms of crowd numbers, not so much. I mean, I was saying to somebody else, those are not so much an indicator of was the show's good, because
Economically, it's a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, the other things was you've got to compare, like during the golden era, you didn't have WWE doing week long, month long tours, charging astronomical ticket prices. You didn't have AEW running the big shows in Europe. Literally a month before this, you had Forbidden Door in London.
Yeah.
Last year you had Wembley. So that's going to be fact life. Where for these festivals, the autumn one in particular, you're going to be running a month after a big AEW show, at least at the moment.
And
you're also going to be running pretty close to WWE doing a European tour, one of the 2-3 every year. So you're fighting amongst the established mainstream guys who have got the big TV spots, who've got, in WWE's case, for decades of brand history and brand recognition.
Yeah.
And we said this, coming out of pandemic, when all the big bands would return the first time. And I think someone Taz said, if you are wXw who's in Oberhausen 6-7 times a year, are you going to see wXw, or are you going to see Rammstein the first time since the pandemic? And yeah, you may have had that first time back fade, but you're now dealing with this in terms of wrestling of, well, WWE's in town, and I didn't see them last time, I'm going to see them this time. Just as an example, like, it's not necessarily the sky's falling because only X people did night one, let's throw the baby out of the bathwater. But it is the whole thing of, you don't know, you shouldn't be making decisions based on 1 year's festival numbers. If they do the same format next year and you get similar results, then maybe look into, right, what do you do? And I think definitely, the whole round robin thing, you're always going to have first, maybe the second night of matches where people just hand wave, unless the matches themselves, rather than the storylines, are the bits which are attractive. Because you see this even when the G1 Climax, people who watched will watch night one if there's anything big on it. It gets really saggy in the middle, and they'll come back when the stakes are high.
Yeah,
I think if they're going to keep with this format, great. But I think that's one of the things we've got to be careful of is night one and show one and show two,
I think
maybe
show
a bit
1, 2,
softer.
and 3, show 1, 2, and 3 kind of. It was a lot of build up for an excellent show on Sunday.
Yeah,
but it was not to say it was ever a slog or a chore, but there was. I remember I come into the second show today afternoon, and I was like, it's going to be like yesterday, isn't it? Because we've still got half the blocks to do. And I've always kind of said the first day of Carrot is usually a bit of a dull one. Yeah, I like, you have to go through the first week, obviously, but and it felt like there was 3 shows where there was a lot of things where like it was all good, but it was also a bit like, come on, give me something that I don't know about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And actually, I think
again,
there was only really, what was it, four or 5 matches on the entire sort of festival shows, should we say, that were not sort of pre-planned or expected, because there was everything else was always, well, this is the Catch Grand Prix, this is the semi-final, this is the final. So it's like not Catch Grand Prix, sorry, König to Catcher. So there was never anything. There wasn't the space for the chaos, which I think we all love on these weekends.
yeah, you had like a few odd ones, but it was mostly the guys who had been eliminated rather than, hey, he's someone who, we haven't mentioned all weekend for surprise. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens next year. They haven't done. We've obviously got the slot for. Was it next September? I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it is going to be September. The fall festival, 25th, 26th, 27th September 2026. So we'll see what format it is. Just a few bits coming out. Obviously, we did the Shotgun vlog. I mean, we said earlier, they had everything up post-produced, less than a week after the shows. So, if you didn't want to watch the live cuts and you were kind to need the subtitles and promos, you didn't have that long to wait. But a few bits coming out of the Shotgun vlog. You touched on it. Peach Tahani signed a new deal, and apparently this isn't a storyline. But the one storyline bit that is in there is he isn't to face Leah Bloom.
Yeah.
So that is very much the Lex Luger Yokozuna stuff. If you want to use ye oldie comparisons there, how do they get around that? Do they get around that? Planet Kojiro announced acknowledging Greedy Souls and McGrinders for next contenders. Manda's going for a rematch with Peach Tahani. Joseph Fennick Jr.'s got the next match to Tahani, saying it's going to be the beginning of the end for him. We'll see. Norman Harris upset with Alexander Bellamy for losing his credit card. Rambo and Metahan are now going by the name of Los Compadres, and I just have mental images of them wearing the Orlando Silver fake lucha masks. We'll see if they do that or just keep the current presentation. And then more tortured Leah Bloom, accusing who. Oh, yeah, so one thing we've missed in the current Catcher final was Robin Christopher coming out, ringing the bell, tricking Leah Bloom into thinking he'd won. That played into the Shotgun blog, Bloom accusing who of joining Vorwerk. Who denied and just said, yeah, Bloom, you were sore loser, you cost yourself the final.
It was the difference between the two. Bloom gets distracted, he's all emotional. Ahura locks in and carries on doing the job. Like, again.
Yeah. I think it's the whole thing where, there's plenty of mileage in this. So we'll see what comes. Of course, we've got Bielefeld next week, but before we get to that card, a few news bits. One, we kind of touched on. About a week ago, wXw announced they've cut ties with Marius Arni. So he's, how do we phrase this without getting ourselves in any kind of Alani watch list? He posted a very right-wing video. I think it's the best way to summarize it.
Video, I think.
Misguided / right-wing video, calling on Germans to, quote, show their colours. I think the comparison I heard was a bit like Stop the Bolts, Tommy Robinson level stuff, where people get swept up and we put 2 seconds of thought and it's, you're misguided. But it was a video, the whole, hand on heart, trying to be a rallying call. Show your colours, and then playing, was it Erica in the background, the Nazi marching songs. Like, as a package, when you're working for a company whose whole thing is wrestling is for everyone, there's only ever going to be one way this is going to end once that video went out. And although he did delete pretty quickly, Tass and Felix said they had a call with him, the day after, and by the end, they just cut ties. So storyline, European titles vacant. I know Marius did it was like a 15-minute long car rant on Instagram, basically saying things like, he thought he was going to be allowed to, say his piece before they released that statement. So a lot there. It was all in German. I don't speak German. I've just seen translated summaries, but there's a load of other promotions as well. Cut ties from, was it Catch Factory in Leipzig? They've cut ties. The German wrestling promotion and German Alliance Wrestling, I think, as well, had matches of him. They've severed ties. So, yeah, Mario Solani, you're not going to be seeing him in a wrestling ring anytime soon. Maybe Rings of Europe. I know Siggy was all over those replies to WXW.
Unlimited Wrestling, Rings of Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Promotions who draw like 150 people and then wonder why, they're controversies and causing much cash for them. But yeah, as for Marius, this was his second run. He did get suspended pre-pandemic. Was like a fight with a fan in Fulda. There's an illustration for you. We returned in 2020. That Fight Power Show carried on through the pandemic. I guess effectively was the face of WXW during the pandemic. But yeah, I think this latest run, they clearly waited a long while to bring him back. He did have like replacements in Carrot and was it Fan last year as injury replacements. So they both seen has he still got it, but also is he going to behave if you want to put things down to to brass tacks. And yeah, if the time bomb was Maris Arani went off, and what he's posted, I think, in the past 24 hours as of recording. I think it may be a long time if ever before he's seen back in a, I'll say credible, you know what I mean?
Promotion.
Reputable promotion. So, yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, the European belt needs a new home again. They cut ties after they'd announced or sorted out the card for Bielefeld, so no sign of that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's not decided until the anniversary finale in December. Elsewhere, Oscar and Yuta Nakashima won the IWGP tag titles at Destruction in Kobe on the 20th, so the Pro Wrestling Grand Prix finals day. They beat Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii for belts, and randomly now feuding with Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura for belts, which maybe we'll share war stories of the Rev Pro excursions on most feuds. Paige Tahani signed a new deal with WXW. He's there till 2027. No word if that's a new deal or it's just like the Tony Khan special of injury time being added on. Inner Circle Homecoming for Turok and Essen in March. That is now sold out. We reckon that's set for about 300 tickets, which would be a record for venue there. WXW hasn't run there since, of course, June 2006. The record, at least the ones that's been listed on the WXW website, was 280 people from November 2005, headlined by Ares against Kenta Kobashi. That's going to be a hell of a trivia question. Who took Kenta Kobashi's Essen biggest draw record off him? It's probably Robert Dreiske, you'd imagine, if he's fit, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you'd think.
Of course, over Pro Wrestling Grand Prix weekend, they also announced the festival makeup for the Carrot Weekender. It's the usual stuff. Your free Carrot shows, Wheel of Wrestling taping, Ambition. The question mark was what was going to be in the showcase, this Shotgun Bonanza spot. And it's something called the Independent Wrestling Summit. No details on what that is. I suspect it's just going to be rebadged, showcase. Names coming in, getting offer matches. Guess we'll see. Well, we'll see. But yeah, that Saturday lunchtime slot coming after Wrestling Cult is usually a tough sell, if only just for the fact that it's, the typical format is 20 minutes. Everyone gets, the shine, and then, by the time the match is done, you kind of know whether you like them or not.
Yeah. I don't know. There's always chance that they could bring a few different things in. You don't know, but hopefully, well, it does. They're usually a good laugh because there's usually something which is funny on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Then, of course, we had three names over the Pro Wrestling Grand Prix weekend announced for Carrot. Yamato from Dragon Gate, Chihiro Hashimoto, and Ares.
Big Hash. Really happy with.
A lot of people pinged me on Saturday after Hashimoto got announced, and we were saying earlier about the travelling numbers maybe on the stuttering a bit. There's a big uptick for March already from a travelling lot. Just from the number of people I've seen who've said they've booked tickets for and sorting out accommodation. So be a lot more British and travelling fans going over to the Carrot next year just because of Hashimoto, and that's only 3 of 16 names as well. So very interested to see who else we get. We'd expect the next name would probably over Carrot and then over anniversary show, and then we'll announce a few more over the holidays. So yeah, was it Tommy Geeson says after the festivals before the festival? and very much hitting the hype train for Carrot, and that's what 5 months time.
Exactly. Yeah.
It'll be here before we know it, Mike.
Exactly. It
Anyway,
rushes towards us.
before we get to Carrot, we do have the 25th anniversary tour. I think it's the first time we've properly named one of these tours since the Shotgun days. Next show is October 18th. That'll be sold out form in Bielefeld. This will be on Triller and wXw now. We've got a full card as well. Aaliyah Bloom against Bobby Guns. Uhura against Zoltan. Dennis Stolnig defending the Shotgun belt against Yokai. Planet Kojiro defending with tag titles against The Grind. Con Kelly against Peach Tahani. Norman House and Alexander Bellamy against the Hype Dogs. Reiko against Madison Marley. And M4 against Rob Drake, which I think there's a few foregone conclusion matches here, but this isn't a tentpole show or anything in terms of, this is the start of a new arc, so to speak. So not too bad. Not too much to complain about.
Always sells out Bielefeld, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Bielefeld. This was sold out before the festival.
Yeah.
Whatever they're doing in Bielefeld, it works. And
local
they are
promoter
smart
does well.
and they are very smart and resistant to temptation to add another Bielefeld stop, because I feel it's one of these. If it's a bridge promotion, shall we say, I would definitely see them going, let's do Bielefeld 4 times a year, and then the gates will wane, and you're not special anymore. So yeah, that's next Saturday. Sorry, beg your pardon. I'll look at the calendar. October 18th. Then the following Saturday, we're at the Kreutz in Fulda. No card announced, so I suspect this isn't streaming, but we'll be proven wrong, I guess. After that, November 8th, at the Batch Cup in Frankfurt, we've got 3 matches here. Peach Tahani defending the Unified World Wrestling title against Joseph Fennick Jr., keeping the old High Performer Limited threads going. One called Manders taking on a returning Shigehiro Irie, and one which I think Met Damasi is going to be screaming from the top of his lungs for. And Ava Everett returns to wXw taking on Madison Marley.
Yeah.
That's another name you mentioned earlier in the show.
Yeah.
One of LSG's behind her. I mean, he's been getting a bit over the real contents of Burnt Astrobot outfit, but he's scarred by that. Then we've got the swing through East Germany, November 13th in Golfeld for Stadthalle, November 14th for the factory in Magdeburg, 15th for Stadthalle and Limbach Oberfrohna, Hellraiser in Leipzig on November 16th. Then the following weekend, November 21st in Hamburg, the Markthalle, that's got Danny Luna and Miura Yamashita announced. The following night, Hamburg of the Grünspan, November 29th at the Huber Arena in Bad Sackingen, probably another live show with Huber getting involved again. December 12th, Borken with Stadthalle Vennerhof, and then December 13th, the last main roster show, the 25th anniversary show at the Turbine Hall. So, packed 2 here, Mike. Normally, just a couple of years back, we were looking at like 1 show a month. There's a lot of shows coming, and a fair amount of these, I suspect, be making tape.
Yeah, no, it's do apologise for that. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff going up. It's nice they're bringing in sort of big names into sort of the other towns as well. I think the Danny Luna Yamashita match is certainly an interesting one for me. Likewise, sort of Irie doing literally the entire tour, brilliant stuff.
Yep.
It's what you want. I mean, I mentioned sort of the tour. To be honest, the tour in general, the people they've got, the right people. Manders, Irie, and Tim at the end. They are probably the 3, the 3 best sort of imports that WWE has sort of had. Short of getting Arbe over for Limbach Oberfrohna, I don't think you could do much better, really.
I know we've got the Greedy Souls there doing a bunch of dates. I think it's mostly the East Germany swing. Go for Magdeburg, Limbach, Leipzig, and the 2 Hamburgs. So they're in for a couple of weeks. So Madison Marley's doing the whole tour as well, so she'll be getting some ring time as well. And again, the anniversary show itself at the end of the year, they always seem to pack one up. That's like the unofficial number 3 show of the year, I feel like. And again, if you're into round numbers, I know 25 isn't round, but it's usually 10 to poll. Certainly you'd be stunned if they're not loading that one up to end the year. But Mike, we've gone very long for an Auf Die Fresse episode. Where can folks find you on social media?
You can find me on everything. Mike Kilby, MikeKilby. Find me on everything, pretty much, even Blue Sky.
Same here. Search for Ian Wrestling. I've got accounts there for not being used. You'll see which ones are used and which ones aren't. Again, if you listen to us for the first time, there's episode 62, I think we're up to now, for Auf Die Fresse. So a veritable days worth, I think, at this point of audio to catch up on. Of course, current episodes as well, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music. Where we find your podcasts are there. We're also on YouTube. Just search for Auf Die Fresse podcast. It will pop up there. Just want to say thanks for listening. Thanks for popping up in Oberhausen. There was a few folks came up to me, fans of the podcast. Want to say hi for everyone there. Say thanks for listening, and we will see you in a couple of weeks, guess, after Bielefeld. Thanks again, and tschüss.
Tschüss.